the fuck are you doing? Like, what is Lou doing right now? Giving us Malcolm X or something, boy?
That's my tribute to my amazing feeling last week, Shima. As I was trying not to pay attention to y'all while y'all was talking, like they kept on saying that Shima was doing on the show. Y'all gonna stop it hating. I'm letting y'all know that up front. Okay, y'all gonna stop hating. I'm coming in hot. Y'all gonna stop hating on folks on Big Gold Belt. We are amazing. Shima did an amazing job last week, and I understand at times when folks is on camera, we like to not pay attention when other folks are talking. And you think that we just, and y'all think that we just, oh, she just don't want to be there. Yes, she did want to be here. She did an amazing job. I know. I had to listen back to the podcast, and I absolutely enjoyed it. But welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Big Gold Belt. Boy, was I about to say another network. A Big Gold Belt review of P Valley. Now, again, last week we had an amazing feeling. Shima, she did a great job because BET, after they sabotaged Givion's mic, decided to sabotage our podcast and erase it off of StreamYard. So we had to do it all over again. But luckily, again, with amazing people in the background, we were able to get it done, get y'all an amazing review. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Hopefully, possibly later on in the season, maybe you'll see all four of us on here as we give a recap of one of these amazing episodes of P Valley. But let me get into my co-host. First, I'm gonna start with, because I haven't seen him in a minute, Jamal, aka Miss Maya, with the Asian two parts in his head. He giving it up today.
My God.
How are you doing tonight, sir?
I am here. I'm present. I'm good. I can't wait till I see you. Oh, I can't wait till I see you. But then again, it could be worse. I don't put anything past you.
There you go. There you go. And next up is my amazing other co-host. She is one of the stars of Big Gold Belt. She's doing The Man That Fell from Earth. She's done Harlem. She's done Run the Girls one. She's done Insecure. She's giving you hood chic with she's giving you hood chic with the hair and tie-dye shirt, with the sofa in the background like Poetic Justice, giving it up. How you doing, Miss Amaya Desire?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Yes, Clark sisters.
See, again, we got to bring y'all. I decided to come in a little light this week because this quite possibly could be the heaviest episode P Valley has ever done. But again, we got to start from the beginning to get y'all into this episode. One, this is episode 6. And Amaya, what's the name of this episode? Because I don't know the name of the episode.
What?
And I know not to look this way.
What?
I know not to look this way.
Look, we jumped into
notes. Ask her.
We jumped into the episode, and I never thought about the name of it. I was good calling it episode 6. And I said, you know what? Amaya probably knows the episode name.
Amaya, by the way, you look gorgeous tonight. I love the braids.
Thank you.
Earrings.
Oh, you was talking about her. I thought you was telling me I looked gorgeous.
Stop being a hater, Lou. Stop being a hater.
You know I do love chocolate, Lou. You know I do love chocolate.
You know,
too much to make you sick.
I don't. You know,
and you gotta lie.
I don't.
Savage. It's
yeah,
called.
I don't need anyone else self gratification. As Mary J said, I wake up every morning and tell myself, "Good morning, gorgeous."
I can't.
Man, out of here. Get this man.
So, this is episode 6. As Amaya just said, the name of this episode is Savage. Now, we start the episode off with Diamond and his friend, who's also a stripper at the Pynk, if I'm not mistaken.
She's a bartender.
Bartender at the Pynk. She also happens to actually be his real life fiance, if I'm not mistaken. That's Miracle Watts.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
As we get I guess Diamond needs to have a sex scene moment that literally makes no sense in the rest of the episode here.
At all.
I'm just gonna ask off of that scene, what did you all think about the things that Diamond had around his place to ward off bad spirits, and what ramifications could that possibly give us later on in this season? And I'm gonna start with you, Amaya. What did you think about?
Why you coming over here? You know that I got stuff like that in my house. What we doing right now?
Not only that, but I figured because the moment Diamond turned her over and he was like done in 2 seconds, I'm pretty sure you've experienced that before. So I figured you would be able to elaborate more on this.
Hey yo, get this man out of here. First of all, yes, but nevertheless,
Thank you.
you know, yeah, I mean, to me, it's I have something like that in my house, not necessarily like that, 'cause I ain't murdered nobody, not that I know of. I thought that it was. I mean, it's if they're keeping Diamond's story consistent, so I appreciate that, right? Because that's really I won't say that's the only reason why he's in this season, but so far that's the only reason why he's in this season is that you see him getting the spirit off of Mercedes, and then you see them obviously pointing towards the ring that he still kept. So to me, it was like, okay. I mean, quite frankly, this opening of an episode clearly did not prepare me for what the hell the episode was really finna be. And yeah, she has some nice tits. So
There you go. And Jamal, what did you think about the scene, Miracle Watt's symmetrical nipples? And just what did we get from this scene? And what did you think it would possibly lead to in this episode?
Real quick, did you call her Miracle Wop? Because that's exactly
Miracle
what it's.
Watts.
I know what her name is, but I'm trying to tell you what it sounded like.
It was Miracle Wop. Hey, it was Miracle Wop though, because she got him out there real quick.
I guess. Okay. So first things first, I thought it was alright. It was. There was irony in it that I caught because, as Amaya says, he has all these things around him to protect him and ward off the spirit of the killing of Montavious and everything like that. However, there's nothing to ward off the spirit of Miss Mississippi, Keyshawn, who he is envisioning while he's having sex with Big Bone, and it's almost that situation where the heart wants what the heart wants, but is interfering with what the flesh wants at the moment. So I thought that was very fitting that all this time in season 1, we saw that buildup of him in Mississippi, and for him to actually have a sex scene with someone who's not her, but for him to just envision her is like, for you to be the witch doctor, you can ward off this energy that's coming across you. But as far as the tone of the episode, I definitely did not think it was going to go where it went. Like that, it was so far left in the beginning. Like you couldn't have told me the episode was going to be what it is.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad actually because I just would have preferred a different opening scene. For the entire episode, I just feel like it's like they rear-ended us almost. You know what I mean? Like
sometimes that could be fun.
Listen, if I get proud, yes. But I feel like it was just like a hard left. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
like it just didn't fit the remainder. Like I forgot all about it, to be quite honest, until you brought it up. Like I was not focused at all on that part of the episode. You know what I mean? So like Jamal said, for him to be the witch doctor, for him to be protecting himself, his spirit, for you to have this woman who's essentially a stranger in your house, you're envisioning Keyshawn. It just seemed real. It seems real messy. I would have rather them opened up the episode like how they actually opened it after they, So,
could I throw a little something at both of y'all for a quick response? Could it be that they decided to open this episode this way? One, it bringing back to the forefront of what happened between him and Keyshawn, and that love that was still there. And later on in the episode, we see things transpire with her that technically wouldn't have happened if she would have left with Diamond. And the second thought I had was the whole shrine that he had up and dealing with bad spirits is dealing with past trauma. And how do you cope with the way you deal with past trauma? And
Lord.
then we see later on in the episode how it goes about how other people have chosen to deal with bad trauma. Because he says to me, a very important thing to Big Bone. When she's about to touch it, he said he named everything bad that would happen to her
Yeah,
if
titties
she
to your back.
did anything to that. And
Yeah.
she said, no, I don't want any of that. And he said, well, it's best to leave certain things alone. Because if you go back and try to address at times, while it's good to address your trauma, once you go back and try to live in your trauma or try to touch it and try to reach for it in certain instances, it can take you to a place that you're not prepared for.
Just tell us you got a psych degree without telling us you got a psych degree. Because that's just what that was, okay? Like if that's what you on right now, you did it, okay? Congrats.
Hey, again, everything at times has a meaning. At times we just gotta try to pull it away and say, okay, maybe that's what they were bringing up. But let's get to what you all feel is the real started episode, where little Murda does what every cheating man does when they cheat on their boo thing. They buy them something nice and shiny to make them forget about it. What did you think about just the whole thing about the neighborhood coming out around Teak being out and little Murda buying Teak a car? What were your first initial thoughts of this gesture by little Murda, Jamal?
I ain't gonna lie. I thought when they first opened up, I actually thought they were shooting a music video for like the song he was working on in the bathtub. I'm like, oh, you bet. You know what I'm saying? That's right. Have your bottom bitch in your video. You know what I'm saying? Like that. But as we later see, he come through with the car for him. I'm just like, oh, that's dope. But I mean, it was great because I mean, we all know those dudes from the hood that came up on some money that they man took that bid for them or whatever, or held them down when they was in jail together, and that's what they do when they come home. You know, hell, Jay-Z said it in one of his rhymes. I can't remember lyric for lyric, but you know, you always go and make sure your man fresh. You always go and make sure they hair done, they got something to look good in, they got something to look good riding around in. You always want to make sure your man is straight. So that's exactly what he did. So I thought it was a nice gesture. I didn't feel like it was a romantical situation behind it. It was just what niggas do for niggas when they hold them down. That's it.
There you go. What about you, Amaya?
I hated the car, but you know, I like the gesture because that car looked like all I kept thinking was, now everybody gonna know that's him. Like everybody gonna know that was you over there on the corner at such and such block because this car is comfortable as hell. So I mean, the gesture was nice. I liked it. I did think it was a whole ass music video. But you know, I think that little Murda is showing his gratitude. He's showing his love. And that, you know, he wants to make him feel welcome, wanted, you know, cared for, loved. But yeah, I just was like, ew, this car, I would never get in a car like this.
Oh, wait, look at you, Miss Uppity. Like, one, you buy your bitch when you mess up something nice and shiny that everyone knows that's hers and that you bought it. Two, it fit where they're at. They're in Mississippi. Like, in all honesty, the car fits perfectly for what it is down there.
Don't do the South like that. Don't do the South like that. Like that shit was gold. It was a gaudy paint job with the design. They ride clean. Okay, don't sleep. He could have got him. He could have got him a nice little. It was a first of all, it was a 2010 to 2012 Charger. It ain't like it's brand new. So he got him. He could have got him a nice glass paint job with some rims or whatever. It kept it solid. Yeah, it reminds me. And this is no
little Murda making.
He making enough. I mean, it's an American made car. They ain't going for that much. Let's keep it a buck.
This is like for real.
But in no offense to those out there, but it really reminded me of the autism like thing because of the way that the design was. I'm like, what are we selling here? It did. That's why I said no offense to that. But it reminded me of autism. Like I didn't know what was going on. I was so lost.
Not you saying Teak's car was on the spectrum. No, that's what we're not doing.
No,
That's
you
not
said
what we're
that.
doing.
Next
That's exactly
topic.
what you said
Next,
there.
let's go before we get blackballed. Come on, now.
Well, the next thing that happened, again, this is not the important stuff necessarily, but this is just something that happened, and that is another reminder that Uncle Clifford hates Haley. And here we get the setup for what we later see what happens with Haley. But her and Uncle Clifford and Big L have a conversation just about possibly trying to get rid of her. How do we move her out the way? How Uncle Clifford's still mad that she's thinking about selling the Pynk. But they say something very interesting when he said, "Dude, we could just get rid of her or call the cops on her." And but she didn't pull the trigger,
Right?
nor did she hide the body.
Not at
Again,
all.
do you think this still betrays the reason why Uncle Clifford still needs Haley, and why, technically, as mad as she is about what Haley is doing, there's nothing she can do about it?
I mean, yeah, I feel like at this point she gotta play her cards right. You gotta figure out, it's like playing spades, right? If you only got a big joker and a ace of spades in your hand, you gotta like finesse. You know what I mean? If you got a ace of hearts, a king of hearts, you don't really think them joints is gonna walk. You gotta finesse. So right now she's holding what she has, and I think that that's the thing that Uncle Clifford is really doing. Like she's trying to figure out, like, how do I use the biggest card that I have in my hand right now, because you don't got nothing else. Haley has played the game. You hid the body.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes shot the dude. So literally there's nothing that they can tie to her at the point. So I think that they're working. I think obviously, as you see now, Big L and Uncle Clifford are that they're cahooting now. You know what I'm saying? Like before, we kind of it was just more of a spat, more of like an argument,
Mm-hmm.
more of a complaining type of situation. But now it's like, yo, we got to get her up out of here. Like Big L turned off the water. He said, you ain't paid me. You might have paid the water bill, but
Right.
you ain't paid me. Listen, I ain't gonna tell you. Listen, ain't nothing like that hot water get turned off on you while you in the shower. That ain't the business. So I like how they made it playful, but they dead serious, because now it's like you trying to play us. You know what I mean? And now that we know what you about, after hearing the conversation, now we can keep our eyes wide open. Before, I think they just thought that, she was just doing some nonsense here and there, but trying to sell the Pynk is a whole different ball game. And now knowing that you actually want to do it, okay, now we need to keep our eyes open. We need to figure out a way to trap you to get you out of here. So
What about you, Jamal? What did you think about this scene?
I like coming in with the humor part of it all. It reminded me of kids, when somebody used to get on your nerves, like your sibling or a cousin or whatever, and when they get in the shot. I ain't gonna lie, I did it to one of my little cousins because she used to get on my nerves. And at my grandmother's house in Southeast, I might have ran the water in the kitchen while she was in the bathroom in the shower a few times, and she might have got a little burnt in the shower a few times.
Just a little bit.
Just she survived. She's still thriving. I love that part though, because I love the childish and petty and immaturity that is shown, and that also kind of, like Amaya was saying, you see that like bond forming, or at least getting tighter between Big L and Uncle Clifford, because for so long it's like a tit for tat, like she said in the first scene until now, and it's like, oh no, we gotta get her out. But it is a good point that you made, in that Big L makes when Clifford asks, I wish we could just, when he says, I wish we could just turn around. I don't necessarily think he's not saying anything because he will be implicated, because we never know if Uncle Clifford helped hide the body either. So, Uncle Clifford thing is he's big on family, and everybody at the Pynk is family to him. You know what I'm saying? These are people that's held him down for so long, so he's not going to let them go down. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, he's like, you played with me. But the thing about it is like, you can't expect to play in the mud and not get your hands dirty either. And that's kind of like where Uncle Clifford is with the situation as it pertains to Haley. It's just damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's like, I know where the bodies are buried, but you know that I helped you dig the grave. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
And
it,
he, and
it's
he
it's
gotta, and he has to protect Mercedes
Yeah.
oh by
at
any
all
means
costs. Yeah, exactly. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, we're going to focus and run through this person's storyline because it's very interesting in this episode. So, we are first introduced here again to Keyshawn, as Keyshawn is telling Little Murder exactly what happened between her and Rome as he's trying to get her to go back on the tour.
Mm-hmm.
So, first, I'm going to ask you, what did you think about that revelation that she gives Little Murder and his reaction to it? And then, what did you think fully about her arc in this episode? From her finally seeming like she's fed up and her trying to get out of this situation, like Tina did with Ike, but then it was Tina's mama who snitched on her and brought her right back to Ike. Here, it's Derek taking her battery out of her Prius, which I didn't even know was possible. Taking the battery out of the Prius so she couldn't get away. Later on, her contemplating killing him when he walks in the door. Just what did you think about the overall arc that she's going through? And finally, maybe this last incident of violence between them two being her breaking point. What did you think about Keyshawn Miss Mississippi this episode, Jamal?
You know, I actually was saddened for her because you see she's trying now she's getting to that point we've all been wanting her to get to. You know what I'm saying? Like she got the
Mm-hmm.
courage. She's actually playing a little Jedi mind trick with him to make him think one thing while she's planning another getaway. And the fact that it comes to it all, it's like, how can I put this? When she went for the gun, when she went to go get the gun out of the hole in the wall or whatever, out of the vent in the wall, and it's the same gun that she pulled out on Diamond last season. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, that was her getaway last season. And it's just like it's ironic that the same getaway to get out of your abusive situation is what's leaving you in your abusive situation. And you can't the
Hmm.
same way you pulled that trigger out on your knight in shining armor, you can't pull it out on your buttered colored devil. So um
Not her
it's just
Vanilla King. You're not gonna talk about her Vanilla King that way.
sour cream Satan, yes. Um Thank you.
Not sour cream Satan.
No,
Hey,
I cannot with them all, bro.
a
Listen,
dollop a Daisy a Derek. But no, it's just so it saddens me. And then I don't think we realize the impact of him hitting her last episode did to her
Mm.
that comes over to this one because as you see,
she's so
homegirl got a black eye. Like she's fucked up. And
yeah.
so it's almost like I'm not going anywhere. You see how I look when he asked her to go with him. You know what I'm saying? So I really I was like, damn. It's like that what's that insurance commercial when he's got the little dollar in the fishing line where
Okay.
he almost had it. Like it's really that moment. It's really
Oh shit, the Jamal. See, that's what he get for making fun of that insurance commercial. Like you got beat. Bum 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 bum. But Amaya, what did you think? Yeah, you did. You did. It's too late. We've moved on. It's above us now, Jamal. Amaya, what
it's
did you
the
think?
weather. Fuck.
Because
I'm so angry. Ugh. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish your thought, Jamal. Finish your
No,
thought.
I'm
We
just
be back
saying,
now.
like I'm just saying, like I was really rooting for her. She had the babies, she had them in the car, she had her bag, she had her shit, she was getting ready to go, and it's like you can't go nowhere. Like what's up? Like it's just, I felt bad for her. I really did.
I think that it just shows you what a lot of people have been saying in the last episode in the comments that abuse has such a hold on you.
Mhm.
The fact that she was in her moment, she's like, okay, I'm getting out. You see her grab the gun, grab the kids. In this instance for me, it also showed me how limited she is, right? Because she
Mhm.
doesn't know what to do now that the battery is out of the car. And there's just so many different factors that go into it, but also that like she doesn't have anybody to call for help either. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's so many things that I thought of that would help her escape the situation that she doesn't have. And so when I saw her holding a gun, first of all, she just looked. It's crazy to me. She looked way more uncomfortable. Like Jamal said, like she wouldn't pull it on her sour cream king, but she was willing to, hold it, strongly with Diamond. And so for me, it's like the idea that she's playing with it because she just has her. She's not. Her fingers are on the trigger. She looks very awkward. She's tense. She's trying to figure out whether or not she has the strength to overcome them if something happens. And so I was just like, damn, because we were rooting for her in the last episode and she didn't get the opportunity. So now she's deciding that she's gonna do it and she can't. And I just feel like in that moment, I know she feels defeated. And to me, it's just like I can't imagine, you know what I mean? It's sad. I mean, you can't really think anything other than like this is sad. Like you wanted her to be out and sadly she's stuck, and the only thing she can do right now, I'm assuming, is protect the kids at all costs because we know that he's now turned his anger towards them. So
Real quick, can I just say this? I'm not laughing at what you were saying, but because Lou mentioned Tina in the limo,
mhm.
did y'all peep how last episode, I think Ludo will go with this, that when Derek punched Keyshawn straight in the face, her arms went into like that standing crane, just like Tina's did when he punched her in the face. Like that's
Oh, you're so
exactly.
wrong. Oh, you're so wrong.
But tell
You're
me
so
it
wrong
wasn't
for
the
that.
same pose. Tell me it wasn't the same.
I'm not saying it wasn't the same pose.
Ooh, then
I'm
I'll
just
give you
saying.
head. Come on, lady sings the blues. Hit another one. Hit another one.
Look here. All I'm gonna say is Keyshawn was leaving. The first thing that popped in my head was the Vivian Green song when she was like, "All right,
Gotta
get the
go.
keys,
Gotta.
get the keys, grab the baby wipes, get everything."
You
Now
know my
stay here. Now stay here. Read this. Yes. Yes.
I'm not with you about ridiculous for real.
Yo, she in on that joint too. That's that gotta go. Gotta leave.
Exactly. Hey, that's my song right there.
I
But
love her.
what do you possibly think, especially with this being such a pivotal episode for P Valley? What do you think we're going to get now for the remainder of the season with Keyshawn and Derek in this situation? Now that we see she is 100% ready to leave him at all costs if necessary.
I think I think somehow, some way, there's gonna be a slip up where he peeps something. Either he sees the gun because she forgets to put it back in its place, or he sees that the vent is a little, off-putting. You know what I'm saying? He's going to get some clues, but I think she's going to try to find somehow, some way to get back into the Pynk to get some help from them in order to get out. But I think she's going to fumble the ball because of some minor detail from that she didn't clean up trying to get away this time that he's going to find out the next time.
I was thinking. I mean, I wasn't thinking the opposite, but I was just thinking that it was gonna be hard for her to plan an escape, right? Because if we're thinking about it, if she's going on tour, the kids are with Derek, so now she has to find an excuse, a way to make sure that the kids are with her. Usually, she can get away with it if she's at the Pynk because they watch the kids for her. There has to be like so much in place for her to get free, but I think that she is going to. I'm gonna stick with Jamal on this one. I think she is gonna find a way to get back in the good graces of Uncle Clifford and back at the Pynk. Even if she's not dancing, maybe she comes in. She says she's sorry for whatever, and she asks for some grace and some forgiveness, and she asks for some help.
That's what we're hoping for. Now, speaking of getting into the Pynk, the next part of our storyline before we get to the major part, Andre and Haley. Here we get, as we saw that Haley was getting dressed together, and we find out it's for a black tie event to attempt to push Andre to be the mayor. What do you all think about the event? Corbin's reaction to Haley, Andre, that kind of you could sense he was a little uncomfortable with the way Corbin was manhandling her. To Haley understanding her power and using it to her advantage to get in with the big wig of Promised Land. And then a scene that I want to say a lot of people had been waiting for again. since Andre had to run back to get condoms at the hotel. And here, I'm not sure exactly what they did. I just thought she got on top of it. And if she did, they clearly did not have a condom here. And is it because he caught his wife sucking someone else's dick that he said, I no longer need a condom? It is what it is. It is COVID. You ain't even got no mask on. So if you, whatever I get at this point. What did you all think just about everything between Haley, Andre, Haley's actions with just staking her claim to selling the Pynk and getting top dollar for it? What you all think this episode? Maya, start with you first.
I mean, Haley doing Haley shit at this point. You know, it's giving real Drake. You know, it's just being real Drake. Like, I just think that at this point, you know, her
hold up, real quick. Which Drake are we talking? Certified Lover Boy, or the honestly never mind Drake?
We're gonna go with the honestly never mind Drake, because
okay, the dance Drake, Drake. Okay,
so
cool. We had to make sure I didn't know which one you're talking about.
So one, I'm surprised that she did not get invited, considering the conversation that she did have with Anthony. What is this guy's name?
Anthony.
Andre.
Anthony. Who the fuck is Anthony?
It's an A. It's the Andre. It's the Anthony, Andre, they know who they are.
So I think
you're not gonna treat him like a black mother would. You know your name. You know who I'm talking to.
You know who I'm talking about, damn it. Listen, so yeah, I was a little shocked that she didn't get invited, considering that they had that conversation at the Pynk. You know, I wasn't surprised about Corbin, because, you know, he's doing, I mean, they both a different version of Drake at this point, Corbin and Haley. So whatever.
Corbin is Views Drake. He's a little angry light-skinned guy running around.
So, I mean, for me, I just felt like, you know, okay, you're here. What's the purpose of you being here? And then obviously later we see her purpose. But I feel like Corbin did himself a disservice just putting her out that way, because, you know, that's not the type of event where you want to draw any type of unnecessary attention. Andre obviously, you know, kind of made it clear that he tried to make it clear that he was the boss, you know, like, what are you doing here? I can't take him seriously when he's talking in that voice for whatever reason. This doesn't work for me. But, you know, yeah, I think that the whole fact that they have her dressed in red, her hair is red, she's got on red lipstick, like it was a play kind of like on the Little Devil almost, you know, like the devil in a red dress type situation. And she's here to stir up shit, and, you know, she's outside waiting. I'm wondering if she knew that said white woman was going to be there, because I don't know her name. So
God damn it, Jim. Clearly, because you just said white woman, I knew then you didn't know her name.
Listen, I mean,
it was Blanche Devereaux.
So she's there, and I hate to look right now. She played it well, you know, as far as being able to get in. You know, she knows how to manipulate the situation, right? She knows how to, she's a sweet talker. She's a fast, you know, and so being in that space with, now back with Corbin and Dre, who, you know, they're like, how the hell did you get in here? And she makes it known she's Keisha Savage tonight, which I mean probably was my favorite part of that scene, was her
supposed to be here
having a new name, right? I'm not gonna lie though, I was definitely rooting for the sex scene. I was like, finally, okay. That was whack, because I can't take Andre seriously, because he didn't even know what he was doing when he was telling her to get down on her knees and cross him. It was just a mess, you know. So like, skip forward past that, getting to the sex scene. I definitely feel like I saw wood. I mean, was I imagining things? Or
well, it would have been the second time you'd have seen his on P-Valley, because they showed it in the first season. So
they did.
I don't be paying attention.
Louis was looking.
I
I
was.
was not looking, but when they
I'm
show a
joking.
guy
I'm
ejaculate
joking.
on himself,
This is
and
a
that's the first
safe
time I've ever
space.
seen that on television before.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. We saw it, didn't I? I gotta go back to watch it.
Yes, yes. It was a
Okay, but
phone
yeah, I
sex
just
scene.
felt like it wasn't as authentic as I wanted it to be. It was not as
mm,
seductive as I wanted Haley to. Like she like if we had to compare, which we cannot, Mercedes to Haley, it's
I
you
ain't got to compare Mercedes to Haley. If I can compare Andre and Haley to Lil Murda and Teak, I mean, shit. Like,
I mean,
which one was more passionate? Which one had the more passionate
but I'm
moment
talking
behind
about
it?
passion and seduction though, and Haley
Yeah.
did not have that. It just wasn't giving me whatever it was supposed to give. So yeah, I'm not a fan, but there are titties involved. So
Look here. First, let me say this before I throw to Jamal. Y'all don't understand how lit our chat is, and Shima is just dropping shit in this chat. That's me. I am trying to hold it together.
it's lit.
I am
That's why I'm
trying
just
to
looking.
remember. That's what I said. One
I'm
of these
doing
days, we're gonna get all four of us on here. Y'all gonna understand just how amazing this shit is. But
yeah.
Jamal, what did you think about this scene between Haley, Andre, and everything with Haley that happened in this episode?
Haley, you know, Haley, she's playing chess, not checkers. I'm gonna say that in this scene alone, because it's like they are at check, and then when she come in with, you know, the white
Blanche
lady.
Devereaux, because I don't know her
I'm
name.
not
Just call
gonna
her
say
Blanche
Blanche
Devereaux.
Devereaux because Blanche Devereaux was also, she was like a hybrid between Blanche and Dorothy. No,
But
Blanche
you
and
know, Blanche had
Sophia.
the titties. Yeah, Blanche had the titties. That's why I said
But
Blanche.
she didn't have she ain't had that sass and she ain't had that smarts. Anyway, when she came in, she
Thank you
wasn't
for
that
being a
smart.
friend. Jesus.
She wasn't that smart. She wasn't that smart. I'm just being honest.
Oh my
When
god.
she came in with the white lady,
Mm-hmm.
that was checkmate, especially once
Yes.
she delivered it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was very, the nod to the red. I didn't think about it at first. It is like a
Mm-hmm.
little, devilish. It's kind of giving Jessica Rabbit a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because everything
Mm-hmm.
red, she red, dress red, hair red, lip red. Like, bitch, we get it. I can't stand the color red. I'm sorry, but like we get it. Rage is red, sex is red. You got both. It's understandable. Now, as far as her getting the invite, it wasn't. So here's what she might have missed. It wasn't Andre's event. Andre
Mm-hmm.
was the he
Boy
was
on
the
the
person.
block. Might as well call it what it was.
But okay, yeah, he was on the block.
He was the prize. He was the
up for
one
auction.
that was
He
being
was up for
sold.
auction. He
There
was
you
he
go.
was you know what I'm saying? He was up for auction. It was Corbin's event to bring these people in. Where Andre getting the money to get all that shit going and popping in that place?
Right.
Nowhere. So it was
Andre
Corbin's
barely had the
event.
money to get a haircut. So he got a haircut for the event. That was the most
This is
important
why
thing.
we can't have nice things.
I thought
This is why.
I thought myself.
This is why we
Dre
can't have
done
nice things.
freshened up. I was gonna call him Anthony again. Dre done freshened up.
But let me tell you something, Dre. I'm mad at makeup at this point because Dre always looked very oily, very sweaty. Like he always looks nervous.
He looks
like I need him to have a backbone. At one part in this whole series, I need him to have a backbone and look like he's not sweating, like he's about to piss himself. But
do you think that's purposeful?
It might be because he don't have no backbone except for when he was trying to choke out old boy that was choking out his wife. Anyway,
when he just tried to choke out Haley, and then Haley removed
he didn't try to choke out.
Proceeded to choke him out.
Yeah. Can I get there?
Girl.
Can I get there? I didn't even get to talk about that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I got the shit. I got
just like a pushy top. You just a pushy. I just know. That was from 3 reviews ago. You're welcome. Anyway, so back to what Amaya was saying about the whole, he couldn't even tell Haley what to do. That motherfucking voice cracking, lips quivering, like niggas, come on now, say it with your chest and your dick, but you quivering and shit. Now, I will say this, my not even though I was mad at makeup for him being oily and sweaty, I will say shout out to the prop department because these prosthetics that they are bringing in, having us thinking it's the real deal. Because we saw what Andre was working with first season. Now I know growers and showers are a real thing, but my word, the massive girth, sir. Come on now, that shit looked like Xfinity. Okay, I'm just saying it was very girthy.
It was.
And it was like mechanical when he said when he got on that bed. The sex scene, I'm not gonna lie, the sex scene was what I thought it was gonna give, to be honest with you. Like I really did because neither one of them are enchant I won't say enchanting. Neither one of them are a sex symbol. They are sexy in their own right, but none of them know how to pull off that seductive, that I can't. I'm losing language right now, but none of them are
just that overall sex appeal.
That aura, everything. You know what I'm saying? So. And maybe he like a little stroke and choke, just reverse. Some guys it really do for him. I'm not about to find out personally, but some guys they like it. But Autumn, I think she was taking on. I think she thinks her seducing him is going to get things to play out in her favor, and I don't think it's going to happen. But I just say I love the white lady's attitude. Like that's a white girl that she could come to the cookout. She can't bring anything.
Stop it.
Hold on, wait a minute. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me explain real quick, okay? She can come to the cookout to see how we set it up. I ain't say she could stay long, and she surely can't bring anything. But she can come by and meet some of the relatives as they stroll on through before she goes to her bridge.
She can call somebody. She can call somebody a nigger at the cookout.
If she get drunk, that's probably only going to give her.
She clearly thought Haley was a maid.
Was the help? Yeah, she
did. Exactly. So she cannot come. I will say this. I think that Haley was more sensual, sexual, seductive, and sexy in season 1 than she is in season 2.
Yes.
I agree.
Yep. So now that we got Haley out the way, let's get into. We got the 2 most important storylines of this episode. First, we're going to start with Mercedes. And not only go through her storyline with her and Shell at the beginning, and that conversation, which to me was a hell of a conversation to play when you first meet Mercedes, to Mercedes' issues with Coach, and Coach understanding that he likes to cheat, but he doesn't want his wife cheating, which, I mean, a bunch of men are like that. And then we get to the end with Mercedes, where we get Terica ending up pregnant. What did you all think about everything encompassing of Mercedes this episode? So please start it from the beginning. Her first conversation with Shell, go through the situation between Coach, his wife, and Mercedes, and the massive amount of rubbing that happened there, and that made Coach pull out, which I would not have pulled out. I'd have kept on going. If you're going to rub that, you're going to rub mine at the same time. We're going to make this work. But what did you all just think about all of that? And we're going to start with you, Amaya.
So, oh my gosh. Mercedes, I love that her character has gotten so much depth this season. And it's interesting that she's gotten just as much depth as we got last week for Keyshawn's episode, and we haven't even gotten a full episode of Mercedes. Now, her having the conversation, what's this child's name?
Shell.
Okay, so I think that Shell is clearly drunk. Okay, clearly intoxicated in this scene. And you have stale food. Meanwhile, you have a child in the home who's not even there because she's out with her little friend name that was a female name that somehow you don't find that you don't find that weird that she's not in the house, like, because it looked like Mercedes came over fairly late. So so now you have her telling her that, like, you need to get some help. You called her a mistake. And she didn't even tell her that Terica heard her. right? I think that should
Yep.
have been brought up in the conversation because Terica heard you call her a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you she's telling you that you need some help and I'll take, I'm gonna take Tarek off your hands for a little while. And the minute that she mentions that, now all of a sudden this you can't get custody. And we're thinking, like, first of all, this ain't even your kid. Okay. And I dislike Shell and her spitefulness, her disgusting ways and negativity towards Mercedes, is considering that Mercedes is obviously having has a goal, like would she still be acting this way if the dance studio was up and running? And I feel like she was
Mm.
doing that because she just doesn't want Mercedes to have Terica, period. So now that they've had that conversation, coach goes to coach calls Mercedes goes by, and Mercedes is telling Fair, like, listen, you can't fuck my money up. Like, I need you to chill, make it seem like this has never happened before. The unfortunate part is so many women are not even having threesomes, right? We're just having heterosexual sex. Clearly not thrilled, very unenthusiastic, lack of orgasms from here to whenever. And a woman comes
None of
in,
my threesomes, but go ahead.
shush it.
Listen, I was about to say, who hurt you?
And a woman comes in, and now, she's Mercedes is exploding. I do find it weird that coach was so. Let me rephrase that. I don't find it weird because men, their egos is as big as the living room
Mm-hmm.
or stadium. So of course he's gonna pull out. Now he's looking at it weird because, oh my God, the audacity of Farrah to please the woman that I brought into our bedroom that was supposed to be for both of us, but now it's only really for one of us. I'm just trying to make the optics look good. Like, sir, sit your ass down, okay? Like, just sit it down somewhere. So like you said earlier, this is not something that is new to us. Men love to do this all the time. They want to be shared or have something to themselves, but they don't want to share what they brought in. You know what I mean? And I think that it's a very selfish situation that is common because the audacity, this man has been cheating for umpteen years with multiple a
Mm-hmm.
plethora of women, and the one time Farrah connects with a woman, now it's an issue. And I just feel like I wish Farrah would have probably stood up and spoke up for Mercedes a little bit more to give her the 40 stacks, because I think it's unfair that you broke a contract you breached, and especially considering that your wife has pictures of me, which was also in the NDA that I signed a couple of weeks ago. So I just feel like I wanted Mercedes to put up more of a fight, but I also understand why she didn't. You know what I'm saying? Because at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, she had that affair and she was like, listen, I need you to bring it down a notch, So I hate that men are so selfish, especially when it comes to
Come.
yeah, fix your face, Lou. Fix it, okay? Many of men are
You will not generalize this conversation. We're going to say that
I,
coach.
I said
Some men. Let's say that.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Some
said
men.
I said many.
Thank you, Shima. Thank you, Shima.
I said what
Talk to her in the chat.
I said many men, okay? It's selfish, but they not. They are simply about themselves. I have encountered men who don't know how to rev engines. They get in the car in the dead of December in 2 feet of snow, turn it on and drive it off. Okay. That is bad for the. Okay. Now skipping forward to Mercedes and Terica's conversation or lack thereof, the unfortunateness of this scene is knowing that it could have been avoided had Shell allowed Mercedes to have more time with Erica, and that Mercedes could have prioritized Turk a little bit more as well. So this is a very sad situation because we know what it's like for teenage mothers to then turn around and have a teenage daughter who's pregnant, because the one thing we didn't want to happen was a repeated cycle, because now who is finna take care of this child, considering that Shell is obviously often drunk, jobless, okay, and can't take care of Terica. So how are you finna be taking listen, child, taking care
Terica.
and
Terica. Uh-huh.
said grandbaby. Like, what is this going to happen? You know
And
what?
now with Roe versus Wade being gone, we just know that she's stuck there.
Child,
That's 2 years in the past. We're 2 years in the future.
these two, yeah, that's 2 years,
Wait,
and
this is the same point.
No, they're in 2020.
yeah.
But they still in Mississippi, so ain't no such thing.
Where it is stricter abortion
So
laws there.
listen. All I'm saying is, I feel, because I don't know how much, I can't remember how much money Mercedes has gotten so far from Coach's deal, because I want to say maybe she's gotten like 20 stacks from the last time that
I
she
think
was
so. Yes.
there, right? So the money is messed up, and which could have clearly come in handy with her getting the studio back open, making sure that she's got a better place for her and Terica and whatnot. Shell's spitefulness and not thinking about Terica, but only thinking about her goddamn self, knowing that she's incapable of taking care of Terica and giving her what she needs. And now Terica being pregnant. The whole And I didn't see that coming. I will say that. I didn't see that coming. I'm thinking she's showing up because, she's gotten home and she realizes how drunk Shell is as a child. My heart breaks for her because, one, I know women who have been pregnant in their teenage years.
Exactly.
And then you understand, especially in this world, because if we're going back to be in 2020, it's a whole different ball game out here. It's a whole different ball game. So what is to come of this? What is to come of Terica and Mercedes' relationship, Shell and Mercedes' relationship, Shell and Terica's relationship? What is to come of how this is all going to play out is it's heartbreaking, for me. And I'm interested to see how they're gonna walk this storyline out, because now this means we need more of Terica. We absolutely have to see more of her.
Now, what did you think, Jamal, of Coach going soft?
I can't stand you. I may or may not have witnessed similar behavior before.
Oh.
However, what I will say is it played on the often spoken male ego that we all know of. That control that we all know too well from a quote unquote alpha male, where is you can't have fun unless I tell you to have fun. You know what I'm saying? And first and foremost, the stroke was whack. Let's just call it what it is. Like the hip thrusting, like he showed his age. However, what I thought was, it was funny to me because I've heard so many men, so many people say this before when they've been involved with someone, in a relationship with someone for so long. It's like, bitch, I know what the fuck how you get off, and I know when two motherfuckers been doing something they ain't been supposed to be doing. Like, don't play with me. You know what I'm saying? That was his don't play with me moment. But like I said, that's a shot at his ego. He's that guy that always has to be in control, and this was out of his control. He lost his shit. You know what I'm saying? I do think it was very telling of Mercedes' self-respect for herself, because as you can see, it almost looks like Coach was going to give her whatever money was there at one point when he went to go bag it up. To collect it. I don't know if he was going to put it in the bag and just throw it out or whatever the case may be. But she just left and was like, fuck it, I don't need it. I do feel bad that Farrah fucked it up for her, because she gave her that warning, like, listen, don't mess up my bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, she told her that from jump, because she knows Coach. You know what I'm saying? She knows like, Farrah, you might know your husband, but I know Coach. And right now, I know Coach. I don't know this person you know as your husband. The situation between Terica and Mercedes is very sad, but I don't want to put the blame on Mercedes. I think it's a blame for all. And I think, if anything, it's going to be a humbling experience for Shell, because it's going to be that gotcha bitch moment where it's like, she was under your care and this is what happened. And you thought I wasn't good enough to have her stay with me sometimes. Maybe if it was that quintessential moment that we all say about kids who come from families just like hers, where you got some that are street smart, some that are green. And Terica was green as shit, and look at what happened. Like, if you don't prepare your kids for the real world out here, once they get out there, they're gonna get eaten alive. And that's exactly what's happening, because now history repeating itself. Terica 15 and getting pregnant just like her mother did with her. And
Right.
now what's become of this? You know what I'm saying? So I think they're both to be blamed. I mean, I wouldn't even say blamed. I think that they're both responsible, because where Mercedes probably thought she should have fought for her harder, and Shell
Yes.
thought she was doing the right thing by keeping her at bay. But at the same time, it's like you got to think about what's at the best interest for the child. And as we see in the beginning of season 2, Terica is trying to be more involved with Mercedes, but Shell is preventing it. So it's just a clusterfuck of things that is happening. And unfortunately, a young girl now is at the helm of it all, and she's the
Exactly.
small victim to it. So
Yeah.
it's just it's disappointing.
And I think that's the key part. It just comes across as disappointing. And before we jump into our last, which I think is going to be our deepest and most
Mm.
passionate topic of this episode, let's just say one, Coach has never been in a threesome with two women that don't like each other before. Because once you do that, you greatly appreciate when two women want to interact with one another in a threesome.
Right.
Because the other way around, this is a bunch of mess that nobody
One.
wants. And again, even for Tierra, as the great philosopher once said,
You gonna get her name right one of these days.
Most
Terica.
Terica,
Terica. There is no Ti. It's not
Terica.
Tierica. Terica.
As I said, Terica's got a baby, but
Lord
Terica
have
barely
mercy.
has a
Come on,
brain.
Kirk.
A damn shame the child can barely spell her name.
No, nigga, you can
And
barely spell her
Terica,
name.
I don't know it. I don't know it. That's not a real name. That is not a real name. That's not a real name.
The
Not
fact
all
that
I'm
I've
saying.
actually known a girl in real life whose name is Terica,
Well, God bless her. God bless her and her mother
No.
for even doing that to that poor girl.
and I
You
have
know,
a cousin whose name rhymes, and it is Derica.
Lord have
you know
mercy.
what? You know what? Ooh, child the ghetto.
Keep it cute or
That's
keep it on
tough.
mute. Keep it cute or keep it on mute. Don't play with my cousin.
Matter of fact, before we skip to that, let's just quickly focus on one quick aspect to give a quick opinion on it. And that is the situation going on with Roulette in this episode of this season. As we see first, her jealousy of Whisper to her and John B when they finally hook up, and her like I think
Oh.
getting her self-worth from him. Would you just think about the evolution of quickly of Roulette in this episode from the guy who we saw had her violate Uncle Clifford's rule in the Pynk, his thoughts about what he wanted to do with Whisper and how that made her feel.
Listen, all I know is if something happened to Whisper, she
Yeah.
just coming, right? Because she a witch. I'm joking. No, but for real, that's some shady shit. And I
Mm,
definitely feel like I was highly disappointed. And I feel like just just watching, I felt violated because it's weird that another woman would put her in that situation, knowing that that's
mm,
probably not something that she wants to do. So I think, but I think kind of sort of Whisper peeped it, right? Because when you see them dancing, you see how Roulette is really kind of getting on and carrying on, and Roulette is kind of just like, okay, so we going, all right, okay. And then you have that conversation with this dude who's clearly at some point in time seemed to be forceful, like that he would just like if as long as she's in a room with him, that he would force himself on her and to do things that she wouldn't want to do. Like to me, that's kind of just it's not cool. I do think that, the whole situation where her and John B, as you like to call him, uh you know, all I could think of is the dollar bills in her pocket that equate to the dicks that was in her mouth. I was kind of like, I was kind of just like, that's nasty. I mean, we all know that it's happened before, but it was just like kind of gross, like really like thinking about it. Like, so y'all just both swapping personal.
$40. That's the first thing that popped into my head.
Nigga.
Shut up, Blue. Shut up.
No.
No, seriously though, I was just like, this is kind of nasty, but okay, if that, if it makes you happy, girl, knock yourself out. I was actually hoping that Diamond would see Whisper in the room with old boy, and he would be able to kind of like keep an eye on her or whatever, or that he would see what was going on with Roulette. Either way, I was just hoping he would get more than just 2 seconds of walking through the spot with what the hell was that AR-15? And that's what it like.
I think it's possibly because maybe Roulette was actually never in danger with him, and maybe because he actually respected Roulette more. I mean, I'm sorry, he respected Whisper more than he respected Roulette.
Well, I feel like there
because
was.
I think she says an important part when he says, "Man, I just want to be able to possibly just perform all special on her."
Yeah.
And Roulette said, I wish that was an option for me.
I wish a bitch could lay in her body.
What if it was an option, right? Here's the thing, people.
I don't think it was one. I think
it will never.
I think he's and I think that's the way it's portrayed here with Roulette, is that she's never the girl that things of that nature is an option for. And that was a partial jealousy that she had towards Whisper.
So was that guy was the first guy that she'd ever broke the rule for in the Pynk, right?
Yeah, he was that was the guy who had her, because she said, I wish I could have done that instead of getting on my knees and doing what I did. Yeah, because he did not give her that option at all.
No, he didn't. He didn't. I think that is. I think maybe that there was some jealousy between the two girls, unknown, like in a way, if that makes sense. Like it's just one of those kind of things they don't really speak on, but it's there because of course, Roulette is obviously Whisper is light skinned and Roulette is brown. So there's always going to be that shift, that dynamic of colorism in which they have been kind of touching on, the last few episodes. So it's not surprising that they will play this dynamic out here. But I feel like, and that's a good point, Luke, because I didn't think about that. Maybe that she thought that Whisper wouldn't be in any real trouble or any danger with this guy. And that's actually kind of sad to think, but it's not unreal, because there are plenty of girls or women who feel like, they are, they're not treated the same, obviously, so.
I saw this and thought Ronnie setting up Ebony in the Players Club. That's what the fuck it was. You know what I'm saying? Let's call a spade a spade. That's exactly what it was. You definitely saw that jealousy aspect of it from the stage alone, because I could see how Roulette's mind is going by her being darker, and they only giving this bitch all of that because she pretty and she light. But Whisper is still working that pole. Let's not give her
more money than Whisper though in that scene.
There was a moment where she got a couple of whatevers, but Whisper was getting that money. Whisper was getting that money. It wasn't until Roulette almost risked it all to pop out that little trick that she started getting the money. But yeah, you see that, and then it's like, and like you said, Whisper catches on like, is this bitch trying to compete with me? Nah, she ain't trying to do that. Like, this, Whisper see it, but she kind of like lets it go because she's so caught up in. Nah, we ain't like that. She not like that with me. And the sad part is, as much as Whisper try to be in tune with all the signs and everything around her, that bitch so green to the shit that's right there with her. You know what I'm saying? And that's the sad part of it all. Now, as far as Roulette and Marky Mark, he said John B. I say Marky Mark. Marky Mark had a little edge, but I can at least respect the fact that she was like, "Listen, man, I'm a hoe." You know what I'm saying? And it was funny to me also before that part when he was like, "You're the most beautiful thing out here." She said, "The most beautiful in the parking lot." Like, bitch, who here? It's just us in our shadows.
Right.
Like, who else gonna be beautiful out here? But I mean, she kept it a buck with him. She told him what it was, and he was like, "Well, that's fine, because that's what I am too." And it's just like, let's just do what we do, and if it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. Ain't no harm foul. But
She found her
Roulette,
vanilla king.
Roulette is such a crabs in a barrel type chick.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some of that is defense mechanism based on what she's been through. I think she might have even had a moment where she was violated by somebody she trusted, and that's why she had to turn so cold like she did. But her
Yeah.
mouth bothers me. I'm sorry. I know this is a real person and that is not prosthetics, but her
You and me
mouth just
won't go
really
long.
that
We
piranha, the
won't go
piranha
long.
lips. Oh, they
Things
bother
this
me so
is so
much.
sexy. Listen,
They bother
those
me
are
to
extremely.
you,
Yeah, yeah.
to
She,
you.
I don't. I
Now
mean,
I've seen
I
her
don't.
outside of the show, and she actually looked pretty. I don't know if they do too much on the
Yeah,
show, and it just
I think it's
disgusts
the
me.
color. I think it's the
yeah,
color they add to the lips.
it's the color that
They
they.
highlight them. They
Yeah,
highlight
Yeah,
them, and
yeah.
yeah.
In
no, I
person,
absolutely
in
love
person,
them.
she looks.
I
I,
bet you do.
but I
She is
will say that
gorgeous.
I
She is
think that
gorgeous.
there is
You're
a
pushing me.
dynamic that they
Look here,
are.
don't hate. Don't hate. Congratulate.
There is a dynamic that they are showing a lot of the colorism that is happening, whether it be in
Mm-hmm.
the office or in a strip club. You know what I'm saying? Because we know that that plays a part. We at one point, and still very much so, yellow is considered, upper class, as my sister would like to call it, high class. And so you see it even today in, oh, excuse me, as far as like kids, right? Because I have children in my life who you can tell the difference between the attitudes, and who knows what, who knows, like, I'm brown, who knows I'm high yellow, and I can act a certain kind of way, and I can do a certain kind of thing. And also I think that we have this dynamic where it's I think that it's also so embedded in us that we are also kind of doing it to ourselves. What I mean by that is, I don't think Whisper had any, like you said, Jamal, she's green. Although she's light skinned, right? What I'm saying is, I don't think mentally she was in a space of, I'm competing with Roulette.
What's was white?
Mhm.
Can
And
we stop saying light skin?
oh, well, white. Well, white.
She's mixed. She's
I didn't know
mixed.
she was
She's
white. She
mixed.
don't look white.
Miss with Nordic white and other white?
Listen,
Shut
Because
up.
that's
I can see the Afro, or at least the Latin in that lady. She ain't
ooh,
no, she ain't no,
she's
she
very
ain't no Wonder Bread. She ain't no
she's
Wonder
very
Bread.
much giving Rachel Dolezal. She's very much
Dolazal.
giving
Shut
that.
up. No,
She's
first,
very
can I
much
just
giving
say
that.
this? Can I just give a shout out to Raina, Zena, Cece, Nene, Taylor, Tania, Chantel, all of my dark chocolate nieces who are beautiful, and some of the
Hey, look
most
here.
beautiful
you just better not be
women.
watching reviews.
Baby, they grown. They are
Oh,
all grown.
okay.
They're all 18 and over. Huh.
Look here. I look.
I just
I understand what the show is doing and is doing. I think it is doing a great job of showing
Yeah.
colorism and how that works, from what we got with Mercedes and Haley in the first season to what
Uh-huh.
we're getting here, to even the little slight thing between Little Murda and Teak in a restaurant where the girl brings that up about him being light skinned. And that's the first thing she brings up. I
Yeah.
think they highlight it because unfortunately that's what at times we highlight.
Right.
Even
Right.
even
That's
if
what,
you highlight it in reverse, like a person like me who, the darker the better. I don't, but it still comes across as a form of colorism to just
yeah.
not judge someone just based off of the person and
Right.
not off of the skin color. But let's get into the most important part of this episode. And all I'm going to say, and then I'm gonna let you two talk, is what do you think about the situation between Little Mur, Teak, Uncle Clifford, and Teak dealing with his own personal trauma? And I'm gonna start with you first, Jamal.
um this dynamic was very hard to unpack. Um there was a moment of beauty in it in the beginning, as we see. Um but it was very hard to unpack. So let's start with the beginning. So of course, when Lil Murda gives him the car at first, you see him emotional that in that moment. And then, they go out to eat, and then there's nobody in the restaurant, and Lil Murda says this is a date. hilarious to me, but cute
Mm.
at the same time. Hilarious
Mhm.
because it's like, of course you're gonna bring me on a date to a restaurant with nobody at, nigga. You don't want
Right.
nobody to know what's good. But it's so funny when you're in that situation where, like, I don't know who's been in that situation where you've had an ex or somebody that you've ever been infatuated with or had a crush on who was with somebody else, and you are that mature person to be, well, tell me about them, or not even mature but just inquisitive to say tell me about them. The fact that he goes into all of this, he wants to know, like, who's the bitch that took my place, pretty
Mhm.
much, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And for lack of a better words. So, and you see that moment where when Lil Murda reaches for his hand and he kind of pulls away, but then he pinches his nose in a playful way and like, you forgiven. That to me was cute and beautiful, and I love that they spent the day together. I knew there was something heavy on Teak's heart that whole time, from when they was in the barbershop, they going around town, to when he went to go get the weed, as Lil Murda thought, to the
Mhm.
point where he goes and finds him in the house. Little do we know that's the house where he almost lost his life
Right.
because his mother was abusive to him and his siblings. Um, the heaviest part of it, of course, is when we come to the end, when these revelations come about of
Mhm.
Teak and his childhood and how he got away. And he says, "This is the end for me."
Mhm.
And it's just like episode 4 and episode 5, where I spoke of how Teak has been traumatized throughout his life within the being in jail, and then whatever and everything that he's been exposed to, the elements he's been exposed to being outside of jail. His cup is full, and it's like, no matter what you go through, somebody, when you're in it, there's nothing somebody can tell you to pull you out.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's to deal with depression and to deal with all that he's dealing with. He can't take it, and it didn't dawn on me at the time when they was at the house that he had a gun. Why would he need the gun? You know what I'm saying? Until they're sitting in that spot alone. And I think it's at that point where we know, when he's like, "I'm gonna take you home, and I'll be all right. You're not coming with me." That's when the dawns on his head, like, "Oh no, you're gonna start thinking about something." It's hard that it took that moment for Lord Murda to deliver his true feelings about him. And it's almost like that survivor's guilt, because it's like, had you did this in the beginning, maybe this wouldn't have happened. And then it's that point where Lil Murders realizes there's nothing he can say, nothing that he can do to stop Teak from doing what he does. And he just says, "I'm not going to leave you." To let Teak know that in his final moments, he's not alone.
Right.
I love the strength of vulnerability that they're showing between these two masculine men, to show how it is okay not to, number one, it's okay not to say you're not okay, as we see that Murda does with Uncle Clifford at the end. But as much flack as this show has gotten for the episode 4 and everything like that, I really hope the men watch this episode and really pay attention to the end, and really stop trying to play so hard with this "I'm so hard" and hiding your feelings, because that could be your man's. You know what I'm saying? That could be you holding that gun. That could be your man's holding that gun. It's just like I said, everything that he was faced with, and no matter what anybody told him about having his back and being there for him, and he that wasn't the end result. It still wasn't enough. He had his mind made up, and there was nothing that was going to happen. I think this is the one moment we could truly say that this has broken Murda down, and who knows if there's any coming back from it. It just was a lot to deal with, and I can't say no more.
Um, I think that like Jamal said, they do a beautiful job of showing strength and um you know, so when we see them having this moment, at the diner, you can almost tell it's like a lead up, because Teak is very much in this space of like joy, like you want to be present in the moment. He keeps saying that. If you listen to him, he says it multiple times. He said, "You never know when's your last day, so you need to treat every day like last. You need to, enjoy, be grateful for each day." And when you have him driving to an unknown place where Lil Murda is just assuming he's going to get some weed, and he ends up being in this house that used to be his home, and he's reliving his trauma. He's hearing his demons. You get to the lake, and he's reciting a verse, and Lil Murda's like, "Who's that?" He's like, "You from 20 when I got locked in the hole." People start going down these memories, and they're trying to find the happiest moments that they have when their demons are starting to take over. And Lil Murda happened to be one of those memories. And so for me, the graphicness of how he explains the story of his mother not just being abusive, being a murderer, being violent, that he survived, right? Out of the 3 kids that she had, that he hid his 7, he when what got me was when he said, "I ran as far as my 7-year-old feet could take me." Like, whoever wrote this episode, they did it beautifully. Like the whole entire episode, when you watch it in chronological order, the way that they write this episode is very well done. And so when he's talking about this, we have no idea what it's like. The guilt that he must have felt, being that he was obviously the oldest, because the way he describes it, it was a newborn and I believe a 3-year-old. So now, not only
He was one of 4.
oh,
He was
She
one of
killed
4.
3 of his siblings.
She killed 3 of his siblings. Yeah.
One in the neck, one in the chest, one in the head.
okay, right. And so, to me, it's like the idea that he is the only one to survive. That so there's guilt for that. Then he's also describing, like, it's not the first time I've been in a hole, and he describes his childhood as a whole, right? Like, I don't think that people are aware of the traumas, like the real life traumas that people have experienced as children. I think they like to negate those experiences because I think that because you become an adult, that those somehow don't affect you as much. This is why we talk about how mental health is important, therapy is important, having a solid um circle of friends is important, right? As somebody who deals with depression and puts on a smile, right? Like, I almost am grateful that Teak is being honest here. That you see him saying, like, "I'm dealing with these demons and I cannot hold them back. I do not have it together. I am not okay." And I think that the thing is that if we're being honest, right, is that we don't know what to do with a friend that comes to us and says, "I'm not okay." Right? Because that's hard. That's heavy. And so when I listen to him tell this story, I feel like he knows exactly what he's doing. And then honestly, I felt like Lil Murda was mad at himself, and it is going to be mad at himself, right? And I say that because the gun was in the glove compartment. Had he never given Teak the piece when he went inside the house, he would have had to fight Murda to get the gun. Murda would have been able to at least do something for, even if it was temporarily, he would have been able to do something. So I feel like he's going to be mad at himself for that for a little while. Listening to Lil Murda like beg and plead, right? And the whole time I'm watching the scene and I already knew what was going down. I'm like, please don't. I'm like, please don't do this to us. Like, please don't do this to us, right? And you see the pain in his eyes. You see the hurt. You see the turmoil. You can tell that the blackness is slowly like coming in on him. And now, in a way, that blackness, that darkness is on Lil Murda, because
Mm.
there's nothing worse than losing someone that you are romantically like. Loss and grief in itself is very hard to deal with.
Hmm.
There's a different type of grief that you feel when you lose someone that you were in love with, that you loved romantically, right? And so I feel like, of course, Murda wanted to have been more honest, more vulnerable, more there for him.
Hmm.
But I don't think that he could have been any of those things without being honest and truthful with himself. And he wasn't. He wasn't able to be his true self. And so when you can't be your true self, you cannot express your love the way you really want to somebody. That's why his little hand touches and those things like that are so important, because and what I will say is that, again, like Jamal mentioned, the vulnerability and emotionalness in two masculine men is very big, because oftentimes we forget that men do not show emotion like women. I constantly tell friends of mine, men are not women. Men are not women. And so this needed to be one of the hardest moments that we will have to endure for this season, I hope,
Oh,
because it's
Jesus.
so heavy, and it's one of those things where you wanted it not to be true, but in order for Lil Murda to grow, to like get that unfortunate hard lesson, that Teak is the one who suffers, right? And I almost thought for a hot second that he wasn't going to do it. And then you see that light go off in the car and you're like, damn. And so there's so many different things to think about, because they talk about how jail does not reform you,
At all.
right? So he he's thinking about what is his life going to be now that he's out. Where is he supposed to go? What is he supposed to do? And now that Lil Murda has moved on, where's my love? Who, like all these, there's so many things, and then these demons that he is dealing with, being honest about your feelings. And I pray that Black men start finding a safe space in other Black men, whether you're heterosexual or homosexual, pansexual, asexual, whatever. I hope that you find a safe space, because I know that there are a lot of friends who find a safe space in me, but I'm a Black woman, and I think that it doesn't compare to having somebody who understands really, like, on that level of what you're going through as a man. And so while Big Teak's character was short lived, he was so impactful in the second season. Like, it's crazy how big he is, and like what he shows the community despite his sexual orientation. And I hope that, like Jamal said, that people really watch this show and they understand, especially with this episode, what it means to share your mental and emotional state. Like, I've started asking that question only because somebody started asking it to me. How are you doing emotionally today? How are you emotionally and spiritually and mentally today? That's very different than how are you.
Mm-hmm.
So watching Lil Murder, show up at Uncle Clifford's door and the epitome of what I just said, right? Like, I am not okay. That's all I got for you. I'm not okay. And I need you. And I think that I hope that we get to spaces where we're vulnerable enough with our friends and our family that we get to tell them, like, I'm not okay. You don't have to say a lot. I don't need you to say anything at all, really. Just know that I'm not okay. That's
That was amazingly put. Um,
I do want to say one thing real
Go
quick.
ahead, Jamal. Mm-hmm.
Um, there is um, a moment where you kind of see when they're at the gas station and you see um, when his song comes on the radio, Murder song comes on the radio,
oh yeah, the gazing.
and you see the awe inside of
Big T.
Teak's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you did it. I think that's the moment that we don't pay attention to. Like that's what the thing is. Like this is now Teak's moment. That okay, I can end it all now because I only wanted to see you become a success, and you are.
Mm-hmm.
And also the irony in what Teak said about how the world is so dark and he's tired of being in the dark. He just, saying, only way out the dark is to go into the light. And his only way of going into the light is killing himself.
Yeah.
I think that's so telling of his mental space of it or how he feels about everything because he also mentions earlier how how the world just kept going
Without
without
him.
him there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that moment that it's like, what purpose do I have being here when everything has been able to go on around me?
Right.
It's
I think
just hard to get this shit out. It's just
for that, it a lot of it, and I'm gonna put on, which I don't do often for our reviews. I'm gonna put on my critic hat here of the things that I've noticed and the things I tended to pay a lot of attention to. First, when we first see Teak and Little Murder, when he gets the car, if you see the glaring in his eyes when he just sees Little Murder get out the car before the flow of emotions when he gets in the car, the love there
yeah.
is highly important to showcase for people
Yeah.
because you see just how much Little Murder brightens up his day, how much he feels as a protector of Little Murder. So when he gets the car from him, he is overcome with emotion because someone's done something for me, and I'm not accustomed to that happening. So I don't know how to deal with that. One of the biggest and most the biggest forms of symbolism in this episode is when Teak is getting a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
If you pay attention to it, it's a part of it where the guy's cutting his hair. He said, "Oh man, he's a star. You should like put him on the track." And then right after he finished, he said, "Boy, you casket sharp.
Yeah.
You have to pay
Damn.
attention to that boy. Never did anything to himself until that day."
Mm-hmm.
So that would have meant he had this planned out from the beginning to do this.
Mm.
Then, as he's turned around in a barber's chair, which for people who missed it, go back and see it in this episode because this is highly important. He turns around in the barber's chair. It is a picture of a blues singer. Over the blues singer is a shadow of a devil over his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that blues singer is Robert Johnson, and he used to say he played for the devil because it helped. He was attempting to keep away his demons, but he always felt his demons were right there above him as a shadow over his life. And when Teak said, "This is the only way I can get into the light, is I have to end it all." So I immediately transformed myself back to the picture because that picture was so important because it's something I paid so much attention to. I said, that is a weird picture to put there. Right as he's preparing himself, he finally gets himself together to the point where he can present himself to his end. And I think
Mhm.
that was important to Teak. Down to when they're sitting at the table for lunch and they're eating. And Little Murder said, jokes and says, "Oh, this is a date." And he said, "I never thought we've had anything like this." And Teak goes back to a memory and saying, "I remember we used to hide in closets to do this."
Yeah, the
And I
pop.
thought I was going off to the closet for something else to happen. And here you are with the spaghetti dinner for me to eat. Like,
Mhm.
again, it's the acts of service that he's remembering the most
Mm-hmm.
between him and Little Murder. And I think Amaya, you pointed it out later on when Teak brings up, which a lot of people in prison do. Just imagine how hard it is to feel that while you're locked away, while you're in this place where everything just feels like the world has slowed down upon you, and you get out and realize everyone else has continued to go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When he brings up, asking him, as Jamal pointed out, asking about Uncle Clifford, and Little Murder is explaining why he loves Uncle Clifford.
Mhm.
And Teak having to come to the realization, like, you should have moved on. I can't expect your life to stop because my life stopped.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Down to his excitement about the song being played on the radio, which I think is the pivotal moment where
Mm.
he decided, my decision is made.
Yeah.
I'm at peace. I think the only other peace he needed was at the house.
Yeah.
And that's why he went back there. He went there because I need to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. And the visions of being in the closet hiding as everything else is going on, those are just his demons coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And him understanding, like, if I don't do this now, like, where will this take me?
When will it end?
And
Yeah.
not only when will it end, when will it break me? When will it
Yeah.
not be my decision to end it?
Right.
Mhm.
That's
When will
Mhm.
my demons take over and they make this decision for me, and I cannot allow them to do that?
yeah.
I think in the black community, that's something that's not discussed enough. At
Mhm.
times, we shame people who make this decision. And the reason you shame it is because all of this built-in narratives of the church and all this other stuff that comes into play, but
Or
you're
that's
never looking at the person
mm-hmm.
and wondering, what does it take for you to get to that moment
Right.
where you say, this needs to be in my hands because I can't leave it to someone else. Or a lot of times I can't leave it to something else.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can't let this dark thing take over me and make this decision. I need to feel a little bit of power the little bit of power I have left, I need to feel it. I need to let you know this was my decision. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't let the demons win, and I'm finally at peace. I think that's what made that scene so poignant in the car between them two. Again, on top of the car when they're smoking and they're talking about their past, and he's reciting that lyric from the Little Murder, and he's like telling, like, man, this was you. Like, this is you in the hole. And then him going back talking about his time in jail,
Mhm.
about saving Little Murder, and how that helped him, because Little Murder became the kid that he could not. The Little Murder is the person he could not save before.
Mhm.
So Little Murder became his project.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're my redemption. But if I put everything into you to be my redemption, what happens when that's no longer enough? And I think that's what happened with Teak. Is like, yes, you've made it. I finally feel like I'm full because I saved you. I couldn't save my brothers and my sisters. That's why I have these things on my face. You think this is because of the people I've killed?
Kill
What do
it.
you say? I've
Mhm.
killed way more people than this. These are for the lives that I
Could
feel
not say.
responsible for.
Right.
I feel responsible that I lost these lives, and that means more than anything to me. Go ahead, Jamal.
Could I just also say that? Did you notice how when he went in to visit the house, as soon as he come in, the girl's like, "Shh,"
Mm-hmm.
and
You realize he
how?
was hearing his mother's voice the entire
Oh, I
time as
knew
he was
that. I
walking through
knew
the
that.
house.
I figured that once he
Uh-huh.
opened the door, but it was just like I knew. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I knew it was flashbacks to his traumas, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
so fitting that as he's telling that story when they're sitting on the car.
Hmm.
It just dawned on me just
Mhm.
now that maybe that's also another thing. If he, how much he had to try to tell them to be quiet so she would not be so abusive, and then
So
those
she wouldn't go off on them.
and like he said, these three, he couldn't save them.
Yeah.
That's why he has the tears. It's not because he killed three people. It's because those are three people he couldn't save from being killed.
Hmm.
Right.
Oh Lord.
And then you get to the point in the car that that finally realization that a lot of people have to get to. Like, no matter what you say, I've made my mind up.
Hmm.
It it happens with people in all phases of life.
Yeah.
Here is it seems traumatic because we look at it as him taking his own life instead of possibly him gaining peace. But if I asked anybody, what would be the difference between what Teak did and a cancer patient deciding to cut off treatment?
It's no different.
Yeah.
What would be if someone decides I don't want to have this surgery? I
Hmm.
Yeah.
don't want to continue this on. The more continues, it's not going to get better.
Right.
And no matter your pleas, no matter how much you love me, which at that point with Teak, I already understand how much you love me.
Right.
Please
Right.
understand how much this still has to happen.
Right.
And I
And
think.
it was just powerful when Little Murda says, I'm just gonna be here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because in the end, family, lovers, no matter what, I don't want you to die alone.
Right.
Because no one wants to die alone. At times we crush ourselves when we think our loved ones died alone. And we put that weight on ourselves.
Right.
And Little Murda didn't want to have that weight. Granted, he's gonna have to deal with the trauma of Teak's decision,
Hmm.
but I think eventually maybe the understanding will come out of it. Because maybe with the story Teak told him, he'll understand more of the trauma that this guy dealt with. And he was always a ticking time bomb, and you wondered why. The
Hmm.
reason why is because he was still reliving everything that happened to him.
Hmm.
Right.
And at times we don't talk about our trauma enough for people to fully understand what we've been through. We may talk about it when we get to the end of it, when we almost through it. Some people talk about it in the midst of it, but if you're not talking about your trauma from the beginning, the onset of it's kind of hard to deal with it because once it builds up, it's going to be over at that point. And I think that was the amazing symbolism that they did in this episode of showing that in their relationship, just how much at peace he had became.
Yeah.
And again, we look at it differently because a gun was involved and he ended up taking his life. But again, as I said before, it was no different between that cancer patient that decides I no longer want to go through treatment. We accept that as them being at peace with what's going to
Hmm.
happen. But because selfishly we feel you should be around more, you don't accept it when someone wants to take their life.
Right.
Final thoughts on this episode 6, Savage of P Valley.
Ooh, I mean, get your boxes of tissue ready and watch something funny afterwards for sure. For those of us who are empaths, for those of us who deal with our own personal demons, our depression, I think that again, they did an amazing job at just evoking so many different emotions out of you this episode. There are a lot of talking points, a lot of things to discuss. You know, have a conversation with this episode. I don't know, I mean, it's to me, I'm a very big advocate for mental health. I tell people all the time that as I'm going through my own therapy and dealing with my own stuff, that you learn that there's so much there's what you see and then there's what you don't see, right? Like people always be like, oh my God, they're so angry. Oh my God, like why is Teak flipping out, but there's pain on the other side of
Mm-hmm.
that. there's hurt on the other side of that. And I think that if most of us were honest with ourselves when it came to certain actions and certain reasons why we're angry, if we took this one step back a little bit further, we would realize there's some things that we're hurt about, some things that have caused us immense pain that we have yet to really deal with. And I think that in this episode, you see a lot of whether the demons are coming out in Andre and Autumn having sex, or Keyshawn deciding it's time for me to go, or Lil Teak, committing suicide. Demons show up, and everybody deals differently. But there needs to be there's a conversation that needs to be had when it comes to mental health and transparency. But the episode was done beautifully. I hope people really, 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 really pay attention to what's being presented to them in this episode, because these storylines have happened in real life, and maybe there's something that they can prevent as well by just recognizing and seeing something. Because a lot of times people say, like, I didn't see it, and then you watch something and you, damn, that person did look a little XYZ-ish. So yeah.
Jamal?
I'm gonna try to. It started off with a little light, but it's still sad at the same time. Funny. I don't know how many people pay attention to the little details, but if you notice, when he was in the barber shop, the barber ain't really do shit with the back of his head, and the back of his head was still fucked up. However, hear this: the morticians never take care of the back of the head when they lay the body in the casket. It is only the fronts and the sides, so it's all right done. And if you notice, he was burning the hair because you burn it to stop the essence from spirits leaving and being into something else. Just taking that there. As far as my recap of my thoughts on tonight's episode, I do think that it is something that I want men, especially black men, all men of color, stop making jokes about your emotions. Know that shit, own that shit, and explore that shit, and talk to somebody about it, because this shit is not easy. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy out here waking up as a black man, walking around with everything against you. I think that I think this is going to spark lots of conversations we didn't know that we needed, and we're going to be surprised by a lot of the answers that we get. I definitely tip my hat off to the writers and the producers and the director and the cameraman, because the cinematography on everything, every little detail is just so fitting, and it played a part that was so magical in each part of the scene. Of the episode, that it's just so beautifully done. I think this season.
The season has us all in our feels, and it's beautifully done. It really is.
And this is a pivotal episode because this is episode 6. This is the point where you kind of drive home the point of the season, and I think this episode completely did that.
Yeah.
As again, you get some revelations to the bigger storylines here to let you understand where these characters will be moving forward next, and hopefully you'll tune in with us on this journey of P Valley Season 2, brought to you by Big Gold Belt. So please subscribe. I don't even feel like saying any of that this episode. This episode is it's
they already know.
Join the conversation.
Get into it with us. Amaya, possibly Jamal, will be on when the episode airs. Lou will not.
I ain't out of town this weekend, so I'm lit.
I'll be
lit.
There you go. and that way we can have other discussions about this episode and let us know what you all think about it. Did you like this episode? Did you like the turn over these last two episodes
Mhm.
that this season has taken, with a lot of what people complained about at first was the non-seriousness of the show, and
Uh-huh.
these two episodes are two of the most powerful episodes of black television that we've gotten this year. So please check it out. Check out our review. Let us know what you think. This has been another P Valley review recap from Big Gold Belt. Peace, people.
Peace, guys.